The level of really effortless integration with Adobe Photoshop to free your creativity. But what about Adobe Illustrator? In the past, the secret was to make an EPS or a PDF and bring it in. But now I'm over in Bridge again, Adobe Bridge. I can drag and drop right to the page and illustrate a file. Here's a tip. I'm going to hold down my Option key to make sure it makes its own box instead of going in one of the boxes that's already there. And this is the graphic of a compass that I'm going to use. It's rather big, so I'm going to size that down. And this is the native Illustrator file. It does currently have a white background on the box, but that's just because the box itself has a white background. I'll take that off and I'll move it into position. But I'm realizing now that when I created this in Illustrator, I made it 50%. I'll just rotate that, no special tool needed. I made it 50% transparent, and it's not showing up like that here in QuarkXPress. So it's true that QuarkXPress doesn't integrate with that level of transparency and drop shadow control inside Illustrator. The good news is QuarkXPress itself has those features, and there's an easy way to use those features on Illustrator files. So instead of making it 50% transparent in Illustrator, why don't I do it in the layout itself? So I'm going to double click on the graphic, and what that's going to do is I'm using my picture content tool, and that will bring up, when I double click, the edit original dialog again. I'll select that graphic, choose the transparency panel, and I'll see the opacity is set to 50%. But come to think of it, is it going to be 50% every time I use it? Is 50 even right? So it actually makes more sense to leave that at 100% inside Illustrator, and then I'm going to save that change. And with the technique of double clicking, I'll update the image. Now I'm going to set that transparency where it makes sense in the layout. So I'm going to go over to the color palette where I have the picture color button in the middle there. I'm going to turn that to, well, let's see, maybe 50 won't work, maybe it needs to be higher, something like 60. Now, in addition to doing transparency, I can do drop shadows. So let's try the example of taking this and applying a drop shadow. Now, I could do this in Illustrator, but like I said, we don't fully support those kind of shadows. You wouldn't get the look you're after. But also, how would you know how to do things like skewing and rotation to get it to fit in with the rest of the layout? So QuarkXPress drop shadow feature fortunately does integrate with Illustrator, so you can go ahead and build those drop shadows right on the page. So we got the look that we want, and we've integrated the Illustrator files natively and effortlessly. But there are times when, in fact, it might be better to actually draw that thing in QuarkXPress itself. And we made it very easy to do that this time around by really changing the way our Bezier tools work to make them more like freehand in Illustrator. So here they are. I'll just zoom that in, and you'll see the tools are very similar, and they even have the same keyboard shortcut P to activate them. So I could have drawn that image from scratch in QuarkXPress, and in fact I did. So I'm just pulling it over from a QuarkXPress library. Here's one I drew earlier with the vector tools of QuarkXPress. So I'll do all the same procedures, rotate it, scale it, apply opacity, apply drop shadows. The advantage is I can get in, and let's say I want to change the shape of the thing right inside the layout, I can do that. And there are many other advantages to using things direct in QuarkXPress, like using shared content to update across multiple places. A little bit like symbols in some of the Adobe applications. So for print and Illustrator and Photoshop integration, it's never been better. But QuarkXPress is now equipped to design across media. So that means that sometimes you might need to integrate with other Adobe applications like Adobe Flash. Now, QuarkXPress can now design for print, but also you'll see there are layouts in here for HTML and Flash as well. Now, it's the only layout tool which can do truly deep interactivity like animations and menus and so forth. But also it can ingest things which were created in Adobe Flash. So, for example, this is a magazine, and we're going to make a Flash version of this magazine. So we might have ads from clients, in this case a Flash ad, a banner ad. So what I'm going to do is take this layout, which I've already made interactive, and bring in the Flash advertising. So I've chosen that box, and my interactive palette is opened up. I'm going to change it from a basic object to an SWF, a Flash object. Then choose an external reference. So where is the ad? It could be on a URL, or in this case, it's actually on my hard drive. It was sent to me that way. So I'll click OK, and then I'm going to preview how that ad is going to look on the rest of the page by hitting Preview Page. Flash Player is going to open up, and you'll see that the page I designed is there, all of the interactive features that I built in there, and the banner ad is running just fine. And like I said, the animations that I built, the video, the menus, the navigation, all in there. So there's a very simple level of integration and great support that allows you to build things like a video player yourself and include video from Flash, QuickTime, or wherever. So that's the highlights. There's more to it, including integration with Acrobat and Dreamweaver. But these are the things which I think will allow users to use the tools of Photoshop, Illustrator, and the built-in illustration tools that are inside QuarkXPress to get more out of their work, both in print and across media.